This one is a big shopping centre called the Enoch Centre. Actually, this is an old police station, but they've turned some of these little police points into cafes. That's where you find out where your train is. Not that busy today because of it being Sunday. Every time they take that cone down from the top of the statue's head, it always just reappears. This is called a bunnet in Scotland. We're going to walk up to Buchanan Street and then we're going to go all the way over to Hillhead. People come in here and try out new makeups, new perfumes, that type of thing. And every year they have a big Christmas tree that they put in the middle here, but it's always super nice and Christmassy. Alright, so I'm going to go and show you guys what it's like getting on the Glasgow Subway line.
Right, well you need to buy a ticket before you go through.
Okay, cool, thank you. This is Ashton Lane. Somewhere people should definitely come and visit if they come to Glasgow. That's it. That's where I went to university. Looks like something out of Hogwarts. That is Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum. A lot of people made use of this Glasgow monument for doing that. If you do come to Glasgow, this will be where you come.
The wonderful oval Hyrdo.
Welcome to the video. In this video I'm in Glasgow, which happens to be my hometown. This is the River Clyde, which runs through Glasgow, and yeah, this is one of the bridges that crosses the Clyde. In this video I'm going to show you around this city. The reason that I'm laughing is because I'm expecting some of the people around I'm expecting the people in Glasgow to be, well, how would we describe them? People are often quite outspoken, and if you get above your station, like for example walking around with a camera pointing at you, then people are very willing to put you in your place. So we will see what happens, but I'm going to cross the bridge now, and then this is actually the south side of Glasgow, and we're walking into Glasgow city centre, and we'll walk up through Merchant City, show you guys a bit of Merchant City, then show you George Square, then I'm going to show you the city centre. Hey, how's it going? Oh well, first friendly person from Glasgow. I'm actually expecting that I'm probably going to bump into people that I know on this trip as well, because it's my first time being back in Scotland for probably over 2.5 years, something like that. This is the view from the city centre to the bridge. Yeah, so I'll probably bump into people from home. It's my hometown after all. Yeah, so this is the road that runs along beside the Clyde. This is the city. Alright, how's it going? I know him, Richard. That's funny. But yeah, I'm gonna go through the city centre, then we'll go and see the West End. We will take a trip on the subway line from probably at the top of Buchanan Street, which is one of the big famous shopping street. This is one of the many beautiful churches that we have in Scotland. So yeah, let's cross over the road and head up towards Merchant City. I'm also going to tell you guys some stories that I know from growing up here, from my own life, and also things that have happened over the years in different spots. One of the things that have happened that was a bit random in Glasgow was that this bar in front of us with the paintings on it, it's still a bar today, but it's called the Clutha and Victoria Bar, and actually it had a helicopter fall on the roof, fell out of the sky, and I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure a few people died in that accident, which is very sad. But as you can see, there's no roof on the top of the building, and yeah, I think they've probably made some makeshift thing there to fix it, but that was a big news story at the time. Crazy. Anyway, so we're walking to Merchant City now. Oh. This one is a big shopping centre called the St Enoch Centre. Many shopping centres, there's Buchanan galleries, and then you've got malls outside of the city, but St Enoch was one of the older shopping centres and still stands today. And yeah, pretty interesting architecture. There's quite a lot of interesting architecture all around Glasgow. We've got some famous architects like Charles Rennie Mackintosh and who else? Alexander Greek Thompson. So yeah, Glasgow's pretty famous for its architecture, but not many people come to Glasgow in comparison to Edinburgh. This is the city. Not many people come to Glasgow. They do, but Edinburgh's obviously the capital city and a lot more picturesque, but many people like Glasgow for the culture, all the shops, we've got the restaurants and the people. The slogan for Glasgow is "People make Glasgow," and it's totally true. And so hopefully I can show you some of the people in this video. These are the buses that we have in Glasgow, double deckers, run by First Glasgow. So most of the public transport is by bus and by train. There is a underground station or underground system that just goes in a loop from kind of city centre, south side over to the west end. But the main systems are buses and the train system. We are reaching Argyll Street. So first we'll walk up to Merchant City, then we'll go to George Square, and then we'll come back down to Argyll Street and walk along there. We have coffee shops like Cafe Nero. They're all over the UK. M&S. The usual shops that you have in the UK. Most of the same shops that you've seen in my London videos will also be in Glasgow as well. I see a lot of the buildings in Glasgow. Actually, this is an old police station, but they've turned some of these little police points into cafes now that the police don't use them, which is cute. I think that's Waffles. But yeah, you'll see a lot of the sandstone, white sandstone and red sandstone in the old buildings in Glasgow. Most of them were built using these materials, but then you'll see some kind of newer buildings like this one. They won't use the same sandstone materials. This has turned into a big restaurant called Citation. This one's called Brunswick Street. You'll see a lot of like cultural event stuff going on in Glasgow. There's loads of events, loads of pop-ups, loads of there's a big bar, restaurant culture here. These little cafes also have sprung up all over the city. People like to go out for brunch, lunch, and have a good time, because Glasgow's a very sociable city and the people here are very sociable and they like to go out, and they also like to drink alcohol quite a lot. This is called Merchant Square. Hopefully it's open. But it's an old cobbled area inside I think it used to not be covered, but yeah, they've now turned it into an area with bars and restaurants and things. You can see they've got little pop-up stalls over here in Merchant Square. Got bars and restaurants upstairs. It's probably quite early right now, it's about 12:30, something like that. This place is called Soba. We've got an old Irish bar there called O'Neill's Steak Restaurants. So yeah. If one thing Glasgow has, it has a lot of restaurants and a lot of bars for people to go out. It's actually, last night I went out for a friend of mine's birthday, which was nice. It's been a while since I caught up with people. More bars, Bar Home, Italian cafe. The other thing about Glasgow is there's a lot of Italian people that came over. There's a lot of Italian restaurants that you'll find here, like this one called Italian Kitchen as well. We've got a big Italian community for like people that came over from Italy, and a lot of them went into the restaurant industry, making hello, how are you? Making Italian food for the good people of Scotland. Santa Lucia, I guess that's maybe Italian as well. Italian pizzeria over there, Amore. Yeah. You can see all the graffiti here as well. Another thing that Glasgow is very artistic. We'll walk past the Gallery of Modern Art, but we have a lot of culture here of artists and musicians. A lot of music comes out of Scotland. So yeah, it's kind of cutting edge place with people making beautiful pictures. So yeah, very creative city. That's why we have the Charles Rennie Mackintosh Art School, which is very famous worldwide. Charles Rennie Mackintosh was an old architect from the 19th century, I guess, and he had a very specific design that he has on all of his buildings. So we have something called the House for an Art Lover. That's one of his buildings. So yeah, and then these are the old churches that we have in Scotland. We actually have a different church from England. Church of England is separate from the Church of Scotland, and then that's kind of the Protestant side of Christianity. And then we've got a big Catholic community in Scotland as well. There was always, this is Ingram Street, by the way. Sorry to cut it off, but yeah, this is Ingram Street. I actually used to live in that apartment up there for 2 years before I moved to London in 2010. So interesting being back. Just to trudge along this street to go and do my first job. That's one of the big things about Glasgow that we had. Many people watching this will know we have two big Scottish football teams, Celtic and Rangers, and whenever I go abroad people ask me, you know, which team do you support? Do you support Celtic or do you support Rangers? And there's been a history of violence between these two teams because of sectarian views. A lot of it stems from both religion and from, you know, nationalism. The Celtic team history, this is Cochrane Street, by the way, and we're just walking down towards George Square, so I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. So yeah, a lot of the history of those two football teams and the fighting between the fans was because the Celtic team came from, or Celtic supporters came from Ireland. Many of them were Catholic and didn't feel like they were part of the United Kingdom. A lot of them felt more Irish and Scottish, and Catholic than the Rangers fans. Traditionally, the Rangers supporters were Unionists for the United Kingdom and pro the Queen. They always used to have, instead of the Irish flag, which the Celtic fans have, they had the Union Jack, and that was used as a symbol of, you know, support for that football team. And also, they were traditionally they were traditionally Protestant. You can see another Italian restaurant here in Merchant City. Merchant City's got a lot of Italian restaurants. And then check out this architecture here. Beautiful. Glasgow's got some great architecture. These arches are beautiful. On John Street. So yeah, I think that has tended to reduce. That violence and that sectarianism has reduced in recent years, which is great, because when I was growing up, I remember my mum telling me that I couldn't go out to any Celtic football matches or wear any Celtic clothing, even though all my family on my mum's side came from Ireland, but that was something, you know, they were always scared of that. And we had friends of our family that actually had been attacked for wearing the wrong colours. So it was quite dangerous at certain points. Yeah. Okay, we're walking down towards George Square. So this one is George Square. This is kind of the central point, the town square of Glasgow. This is the council building, the main headquarters of the local government of Scotland, and the Lord Provost would stay there. They also have the War Memorial in Glasgow over here. I remember when I was a kid, we used to just climb up onto the top of these lions' heads, and a lot of people come around here to play with their kids or whatnot. But yeah, there's the War Memorial in the middle of Glasgow, and there's the central government building, or the local government building. And then we've got this statue in the middle of George Square. This is Glasgow Queen Street over in this direction. I'll show you guys the train station, and then I will walk down Argyll Street. There's also these sightseeing buses, similar to in my London video. There's a lot of sightseeing buses in central Glasgow. A lot of pigeons on this statue that's quite well known for having pigeons all over it. They've actually just modernised Glasgow Queen Street station, so I think it's fully complete now. Last time I was back home, it was still in development, but it's a big modern building now. It's all everything. It used to be like a 1970s building that needed developed, but now a lot more modern. That's where you find out where your train is. It's not that busy today because of it being Sunday, so it's a nice calm day, but there should be a lot of people shopping on Argyll and Buchanan Street when we get there. Yeah. Next stop, Argyll Street. Oh. One story I remember back in 2014, I was working upstairs in that building there. Worked for Ernst & Young, and they have offices there. And it was just after the referendum on Scottish independence, and it was a closely fought referendum, and I think it ended up being 55% voted to stay part of the United Kingdom and 45% voted to leave. but yeah, it became quite violent in the city centre afterwards. A lot of the kind of different sides came into the city centre, and there was fighting, and horses, police horses came in. I remember watching it from up there and all of the crowds just appearing in the middle of George Square. But yeah, now we'll walk down Queen Street. So this is Queen Street running down here, up all the way to Queen Street Station. Greggs, like they had in London, and people eat their pastries, sausage rolls in there. There's another Italian restaurant. People in Glasgow like pasta, like Italian food a lot, but there's many different types of food here. Obviously we have traditional fish and chips restaurants, which is commonly known in the UK, but also we've got things like Mexican eateries where they do burritos, that type of thing. So yeah, lots of cuisine from all over the world, which is great. I have friends that own restaurants serving sushi and Greek food, and yeah, all different types. So this one is called the Gallery of Modern Art. One of Glasgow's most famous landmarks is this statue, and this kind of represents the people of Glasgow to me. Every time they take that cone down from the top of the statue's head, it always just reappears magically. So it's become I guess a symbol for Glasgow and what it represents, which is kind of cheeky people that like taking the piss, as they say. Anyway, this is the Gallery of Modern Art, and they have exhibitions in there and that type of thing. That's somewhere that people tend to go and visit when they come to Glasgow. Yeah. Now we'll walk down towards Argyll Street, and then we'll walk back up Buchanan Street, which is running in that direction. Doing some building work in Glasgow, which is good. Also, if you go down in that direction, you get to something called Princess Square. We'll access Princess Square from Buchanan Street, but you can access it from Queen Street. I used to go to a nightclub for under 18s called Archaeos. I think it was that door there, and you had to climb up the stairs, and it was on the rooftop. There's a place called Sky Bar. I remember when we were 16 years old, all my friends used to go there. It was on before the adults disco, but yeah, this street was packed with teenagers, and everyone used to go into a chip shop, which has since closed down. But it's funny coming back to a city that I grew up in and seeing how it's changed over the years. You see different shops open up, new places replace old places. So this place is called Foot Locker. They have a lot of shoe shops down here. Debenhams, that's a big shopping mall. And then yeah, you've got some of the banks down here as well. You've got Barclays Bank over there, which is one of the UK's big banks. And then you have Santander, Nationwide over here. H&M, you'll see that on most UK shops, UK high streets. It's a big one. And then you get classic Glasgow gifts. A lot of people are interested in the culture of Glasgow. I'll pop in here and show you guys some of the stuff that they sell. Obviously people in Scotland don't just walk around wearing kilts all the time, or those are the skirts that people know of, but yeah, it's very traditional to wear it at weddings and that type of thing. We've got the Highland cow. This is very Scottish type of cow that we have in some of the parks. I can show you those in another video. And then they sell these little small kilts for kids. This is called a bunnet in Scotland. And then they've got all these memorabilia. That's what a traditional Scottish person would wear, with the kilt and the bagpipe. And then you have these little Scotty dogs. Yeah. Anyway, this is the type of thing that you would get in a Scottish memorabilia shop. How are you doing? I'm just showing off your shop. It's okay. Yeah. These are the little Scotty dogs that they have in Scotland. More cows. Yeah. And then mugs with the Scottish flag here. This is tartan. That's what kilts are made out of. So yeah. That's the type of traditional stuff that you would get in Scotland. And also this is shortbread, or fudge. But yeah, we have a sweet tooth here. So a lot of people eat shortbread and fudge and that type of thing. Yeah, like I said, there's more shoe shops down here. There's like shoe, food asylum, that type of thing. And also more banks. So we've got HSBC branch down here. So that's probably what people come down to this street. But I wouldn't just... And then there's more Scottish memorabilia shops. I wouldn't describe Argyll Street as my favourite, most picturesque street in Glasgow though. Buchanan Street's probably more enjoyable for shopping. This is the St Enoch Centre. You guys saw that building at the start of the video. So yeah, that's the entrance to it. So we've just walked around. And then this is the subway at St Enoch Centre. The subway system, like I said, runs across the River Clyde. Then you've got St Enoch, which is where we are. We're going to walk up to Buchanan Street, and then we're going to go all the way over to Hillhead in this video. This is St Enoch Centre, and then we've got a kind of south side route. And yeah, it doesn't go that far out into the suburbs of Scotland, but it definitely does cover some of the central parts. And then if you need to, then you'll get buses out to more of the suburbs, like where I live, which is out in the south side of Glasgow. Anyway, this one is Buchanan Street. So we'll take a walk up Buchanan Street, show you guys some of the shops that they have here. But today's Sunday, so a lot of people are out taking a stroll with the family and doing some Sunday shopping. That's Central Station over there. We'll take a look in there as well. Frasers is a big department store. It's been there for years and years and years. Actually, I'll take a look in there. They've got Zara, Nike. So yeah, this is where people come to do most of their shopping. But Frasers is a big one. Kind of like Debenhams as well. It's a big shopping mall, but this is maybe a bit more luxurious. There you go. How are you? That was funny. I just bumped into my friend from school's mum, which is yeah, it's common. You just bump into people when you're from a place. But yeah, they have all the luxury gear in here. Got like game, sofa, cafes in here, right on the city centre. Down here they've got bags, handbags, that type of thing. Got like a beauty area for the girls through in this area. Some balls. That's quite cool. And this is where they do all the makeup. People come in here and try out new makeups, new perfumes, that type of thing. Not too busy at the moment. I guess it is what day? March. Start of March, so you would expect it to be a bit busier. Hi, how you doing? You would expect it to be a bit busier because start of the month, people have been paid at the end of February, but cost of living here, so it's probably affecting business. If people's food prices are all going up, then it's hard to justify spending money on perfume and makeup. So anyway, yeah, that's Frasers, and then we've got Princess Square. So I'll go into Princess Square, and from this entrance, like I mentioned, you can get into Princess Square from from Queen Street, but you can also get it from Buchanan Street. So this is very, very luxury shops. Reese is quite an expensive one. You can get men's and women's luxury clothes. And this is the centre. So we've got restaurants up at the top. I actually used to work in that restaurant bar and grill, when it first opened. I think that was back in 2009, maybe 2007, when I was at university. But they've got restaurants up at the top. That one's called Barca. They all go around that entire loop. And then you've got we've got restaurants downstairs. That's a cinema, but a nice one that you can go and eat in. You get like sofas and that type of thing. There's usually restaurants down here, but it seems that one's in development right now. And then you've got these escalators that go up, so we'll take a look at it from upstairs. But yeah, Kurt Geiger, it's expensive. We've got all the types of thing. Then we've got this little coffee shop down here, but usually it's shops down on this level, shops on this level, and then restaurants all at the top here. And then there's a kind of nightclub up here called October. And every year they have a big Christmas tree that they put in the middle here. And it's always kind of a different design, but it's always super nice and Christmassy at, well, at Christmas time. Yeah, so this is where the restaurants are. And you can see all the lights getting in, so nice place to chill, come with the family, eat some food. And the food here, like I said, is very very nice. There's many restaurants here. Again, a lot of Italian restaurants. So yeah, there's an escalator over there that you can get up to Princess Square to the top to just come straight to have some food, or you can take these escalators up. So yeah, I'll meet you guys back in the street. Alright, so that's Princess Square. We'll continue our walk up Buchanan Street. Yeah, I think Glasgow was kind of built by a lot of the industries around tobacco, cotton that they were transporting from some of the Americas. Now a lot of that was based upon, you know, the exploitation of slaves that they'd taken across from the transatlantic slave trade. So it's a bit of a checkered past. Oh, there's some guys doing some busking. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a bit of a checkered past. Glasgow was developed using a lot of money from those industries, but that said, it's modern Glasgow's a great city for people to come and visit, and it's beautiful. We've got beautiful architecture. There's another one of these police stands that used to have a little coffee shop in it, but seems like it's closed down. The Ivy was a restaurant that we had in London, which I used to go to years and years ago. It was very, very fancy. There was only one of them, but like with a lot of these things, they prove the concepts in London, and then they'll transport the branches down to out to all the different regions of the UK, like Glasgow. And now we have an Ivy here. So this is Buchanan Street. Funny for me coming home and seeing some of the shops have changed. I don't remember that Ray-Ban shop being there. Breitling never used to be there when I was here, and it's only been a couple of years or a year and a half since I've been here, so a lot changes in a short amount of time. Over in that direction is back towards George Square. That's the Apple store over there. I was trying to get my computer fixed the other day and I went in there. Finally, I've got home. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I got my laptop stolen in Nairobi. So I had another laptop back here, so finally I've got it. We've got the usual chains like Starbucks, and then there's shops like Urban Outfitters. That's been there for quite a long time actually, which is good. And then this is called Nelson Mandela Place. It used to be called something else, but it's changed. A lot of the time people have been trying to change street names. There was some protest for Black Lives Matter, and they wanted to rename Buchanan Street to a different name because they tried to call it George Floyd Street or something, and that's why you saw some of the glue that was there underneath Buchanan Street, because they made up signs and tried to rename the city, but they've obviously taken down the George Floyd sign and it still remains Buchanan Street. This is the subway station at Buchanan Street. Amarone, another Italian restaurant. And then this one up here is called Buchanan Galleries, another big shopping centre. And then at the top of the street we've got the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall. And it's got a statue of Donald Dewar. Donald Dewar was the first minister of Scotland after Scotland got more powers and devolution happened. So there was Scotland got its own parliament. I'll show you that when I go through to Edinburgh, but that's where the parliament in Scotland sits. There's a statue of the first minister at the top of this. At the top of Buchanan Street. Oh yeah, and just to finish that thought, so apparently, you know, records show that some of the old tobacco and cotton traders that built Glasgow also had links to the slave trade, so that's another reason why people take such offence to the street being called Buchanan Street. But at the end of the day, you'll get that all over the UK. With people that have been part of that checkered history, and in my opinion you just need to accept that that is the past, that is the history. Don't take down monuments, don't change street names, all the street names, but make new monuments to celebrate other people that are doing courageous acts. And we need to remember the history. We can't just cancel everything because it has made this city, this great city, what it is in the past. So yeah, so this is the Donald Dewar statue over here, and this is the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall, a Scottish Parliament. There shall be. Donald Dewar, 1937, Scotland's first minister. There he is. Alright, so I'm gonna go and show you guys what it's like getting on the Glasgow subway line now. I remember this used to be a Virgin Records store selling CDs and that type of thing. Oh, how times have changed. There we go, going into Buchanan bus station, going into Buchanan subway station even. Yeah, so these have actually been modernised in the last few years. Maybe the last 10 years. They were starting to be a bit run down, these stations. But now they've got all nice new signs and that type of thing, which is good. And there's modern ticketing system. Used to be they had these turnstiles that were just like rotating, but yeah, they've upgraded all of the stuff that they have here. Let's get our ticket. Let me see if I can just pay with my card. Excuse me, can I just pay with this? Tap or?
Right, well you need to buy a ticket before you go through.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Is it a single or a return you want?
Single please. Thank you.
175 please.
There you go. Thanks very much.
There you are, okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot,
Cheers.
guys.
Alright, I've got my ticket. Now I'm going to take the train to Hillhead. Alright, so Hillhead is best to get the inner line. If you wanted to go to Ibrox, it would take you 16 minutes on this line, and it would take you 14 minutes on this line, which is the outer. So, in total, if you were to sit on the subway for 30 minutes, then you'd be able to get around all of Glasgow. Obviously, that's just central Glasgow, and that doesn't include the rest. You would have to get trains out to the suburbs or buses or that type of thing. So this is Hillhead Station. This is where you get off for Byres Road, which is basically the main street running through the west end of Glasgow. There's also a big university over in the west end, which is where I went to university. It's called Glasgow University. It's one of the oldest universities in the UK, if not the whole world. So I'll show you the university.
Do not attempt to board or alight from trains when the doors are closing.
Got a beautiful mural of Glasgow. This is Botanic Gardens over in the west of Byres Road. And then you have Byres Road, which runs along here. And then there's some roads on the back, like Argyll Street. Yeah, this is great. And then the university I was talking about, which is Glasgow University, that's over here in this area. That's an old cathedral that only people who went to the university are allowed to get married in. And actually this building here, I think it's called the Adam Smith building. That's where I studied law. And they have the buildings over here, Boyd Orr building. That's where some of my lectures were. They have the Glasgow University Library, which is a modern building that they've built. And yeah, and then they've got the medical school down here. So yeah, It's the west end of Glasgow is really built around the university. I'll show you guys Ashton Lane, which is a little cobbled street with lots of nice cute bars and things. They often do New Year's parties where the people all congregate in this lane. It's cobbled streets. The ubiquitous chip is a very famous one, established in 1971. But yeah, they have like the wee pub. But yeah, this street is pretty cute, and a lot of people come here for drinks on a Friday, Saturday night if they don't want to go into Glasgow city centre. Hi. If they don't want to go into Glasgow city centre, they come over here, have some drinks in some of the bars. Yeah. So this is ubiquitous chip. Then you have Ginty McGinty's. And then what else do we have in here? Vodka Wodka was always a favourite with all of the students. Used to do cheap drinks in there. And then got the Garden and the Grosvenor Cafe. This one's been called many things over the years. I used to work in this bar called Brel, and they served loads of Belgian beers and that type of thing. They have another one of these kind of fancy cinemas. Glasgow has a few cinemas that you can go to, big massive mega cinemas where they just get loads and loads of people in. These ones are slightly more expensive, but they're cute and they've got nice, you know, sofas and that type of thing that you can enjoy it as more of an experience. And then they've got bars along here. So yeah, this is Ashton Lane, somewhere people should definitely come and visit if they come to Glasgow. Yeah, so if you were to come out the subway station and walk along there, you would get to Botanic Gardens. We are going to take a left from the subway station and walk up towards the university. This is the university that I went to study at, and it's very famous all over the world. And it's an old university. I wonder how old it is. Like I was saying at the beginning of the video, you get a lot of these sandstone buildings. In Glasgow, these are called tenement apartments. Old tenements were built with sandstone, white sandstone and red sandstone, like you can see over there. And usually they were places that had 1 or 2 bedrooms, a little kitchen, just little apartments for people to live in. But obviously as times have gone on, the materials have changed, and now the modern apartments are built with other things. They're quite good opportunities for renovation, these tenements, because a lot of older people have been living in these tenements for many years. They haven't been decorated, and often there's the opportunity to do different things with the walls to make more space and make other bedrooms or kitchen units and that type of thing. So I have many friends that have done renovations on some of these tenements and added a lot of value to the properties. My brother did it as well. So this one is called the Boyd Orr building, and that's where I think, yeah, I had my lectures, in that university building. And then over on this side is the medical school. And this entire street is called University Avenue, and it goes up to the top of this hill where we will reach the main university building. So yeah, James McCune Learning Hub has just been opened since at least I went to university. I graduated in 2010, and I don't remember any plans for this opening being made aware to me, but yeah, it looks like a very beautiful building. I'll see if we can go in, but it might just be for university students. Yeah, all the modern resources of the University of Glasgow. Places for students to hang out. Yeah, it's great. I wish they had it when I was at this university. So if anyone's thinking about where to go to university in the UK, I would recommend Glasgow. It's a great place to come and be a student and party and go to Ashton Lane at the weekends, that type of thing. Yeah. And they also have student unions and a lot of nightclubs and fun parties that people can go to. Up behind this building is called the Queen Margaret QM Union. There are two main kind of student unions as part of Glasgow University. There's the Glasgow University building. But yeah, there's two student unions. Queen Margaret, which is kind of like the alternative one. And then they have the Glasgow University Union. So I will show you the Glasgow University one. But yeah, the QM is down in this direction, Queen Margaret Union, and less of a fancy building than the Glasgow University Union, but still fun, and a lot of kind of creative people join that union. And they have, as they do at most universities in the UK, they have a lot of student freshers weeks. So there's many parties that go on at the unions during Freshers Week, when people come from all over the UK and all over the world to come and study at Glasgow Uni, and then they all get to go and party together and do the events at the uni and at the unions. Once we get to the top of this hill, if we take a left up in that direction, that takes you to the library, which is a big modern building that they built for students of Glasgow Uni. Up there you can see the library up in the distance. That's where I spent a lot of time studying for my final exams, and then this is the main gate for University of Glasgow. So it's got a kind of Gothic feel to the architecture. I will show you first the building that I used to study in. I used to study down in the basement of this building over here. So every day I would come and get my law books and sit and read long legal texts about Scots law, which is actually different from English law in a lot of ways, and not many people know that. We have a different legal system here. And then this is the chapel where university graduates can come and get married. Last time I was here was for my friend Amy's wedding, and she got married in the chapel. So yeah, this is it. And then we have a big quadrant in the middle. I'll show you after we take a beautiful view of Kelvingrove Art Gallery. When I went to Uganda, I went to the University of Makerere. I thought it was could be like a tourist destination, similar to what this university is for Glasgow, with people coming here to take pictures, and I got arrested at the university for filming. So yeah, very different. Anyway, if you want to watch that video, it's somewhere up here, or any of my other Uganda videos. It's good fun. So yeah, this is the beautiful building for Glasgow University, and then it looks out over Glasgow, and we'll get a better view in a second, but we can also see Kelvingrove Art Gallery, and that's one of the other very, very impressive buildings in Glasgow, and they have art exhibitions and they have the Scottish Fashion Awards. I went to that one year in the middle of the Kelvingrove Art Gallery, and in between the university and the art gallery and all over in that area you have a big park called Kelvingrove Park. Hi. So yeah, this is the scene from the top of the university. You can see Kelvingrove in that direction. It's just about to become spring here, so all the trees have got no leaves at the moment, but soon they'll be all blossoming for spring. It'll be a beautiful view from this direction, but it's still winter here in Glasgow. Yeah. So we're going to walk into the quadrant where actually I graduated, and I guess there's a picture here from my graduation ceremony. So yeah, that was good, and it was a proud day. And after that day I ended up travelling down to London a couple of years later to start working in the City of London. This is one area. Looks like they're doing medieval jousting. I better not walk over the grass. But yeah, this is the quadrant area. Cool. I didn't know they did this here. That looks fun. Yeah, and then these are some of the arches that they have. Looks like something out of Hogwarts. Yeah, it's beautiful in here. It's a nice place to come and study, and having this architecture around you makes you really appreciate going to the university. Yeah. And yeah, they have a lot of lecture halls in here. I think that's the geography department over there. And yeah, this is the Hunterian Museum is upstairs. You can get lost in the Hunterian Museum for hours and hours and hours exploring some of the history from here, because a lot of things were invented at Glasgow University and in Glasgow in general. You know, penicillin, for example. Many other things were done in the medical space, and you know, the list of inventions that were made in Scotland were incredible, and even the telephone was invented here. So yeah, pretty impressive thing, and much of it was done as part of the university efforts at Glasgow University and at Edinburgh and St Andrews and all the other big universities in Scotland. So yeah, now we're going to exit the university. Sorry guys. I'm going to exit the university and take a walk back down University Avenue, and that's it. That's where I went to university. So this building here is called the Glasgow University Union, and I'll go and check if it's open. Doubt it. I might not be able to get in because I'm not a student anymore, but we used to spend a lot of time in there. I used to do debating society, believe it or not, although I didn't go that many times, but that was a good experience. Oh, it's open. Yeah, so stinks of beer in here because there's so many parties. They've got a drawing room. I think they've got billiard tables up on the second floor. Yeah, and then they have area for playing pool and having drinks, where I would spend quite a lot of time when I was a student instead of being in my lectures. This is quite an interesting one. This shield is the emblem of Glasgow University, and I think it's a religious text, but there's a poem that goes with this, which is: the fish that never swam, the bell that never rang, the bird that never flew, and the book. Well, I'm not sure what the last one was. Maybe someone can correct me in the comments. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a bit of Kelvingrove Park now, which is a big beautiful park in the West End. This street is actually one of my favourite streets in all of Glasgow, especially when it is not winter time. These trees look very bare right now, but when it gets into the summer, they're just full of leaves, and then they all hang over this road and turn it into an amazing road to walk down when there's many people. And I think they've pedestrianised it, so people just walk down the middle of this road now like a little promenade, take a stroll with the kids, and yeah, like I say, it's nice when the trees are looking luscious. We will walk down here through this park, and yeah, you can't really appreciate how nice it is in Kelvingrove Park at this time of year because it's a bit colder, but it's very yeah, lush in the winter, in the summertime. So people come, they have a skate park here, they have little ponds, and people just go for a walk and chat and see their friends and that type of thing. Glasgow's actually got a lot of parks, and that's one of the things that was great during the COVID restrictions when they had the first lockdown, and nobody knew what the virus, how powerful the virus was, and they didn't really want to let people mix. So what people could do was go out for a walk, and it was great being in Glasgow at that time because there are so many parks, and they call it the green city, and it's because there's so many parks here. Look, there's a little stream here and a bridge that you cross over into the park, but it's so nice to have all of these parks in this city. Well, we might not have the same architecture and the castle and that type of thing as Edinburgh does. One thing Glasgow does have is a lot of green spaces that people can take advantage of. Yeah, and that definitely became a big thing during the pandemic when people needed to be outdoors. And I had a lot of friends that were in London at that time, and it was tough for them because they were stuck in very enclosed spaces and they didn't have much space to go out and walk, and it's expensive to get around in London, to get out of the city. So yeah, having this park on our doorstep was amazing. Nice little pond over here. Sometimes these freeze over in the winter time, and if it's particularly cold, I remember as a kid being able to go to some of the parks and go ice skating on some of the ponds that they have, which is pretty dangerous and probably not recommended these days, but back then people used to do it a lot, and it was fun. Although I heard of a few incidents where they fell into the water. And then there's a skate park just down in that direction, which is great for kids to go and play in. Yeah, and people come and walk their dogs here and all that type of thing. So it's great. Like I say, it's great having these big spaces for people to come and visit. There's the university over in that direction, and actually Kelvingrove is over there. I think I'm going to go and show you guys Kelvingrove. So this is Kelvingrove Art Gallery, up in this direction. They did a big modernisation here as well, and this is a cool place to bring kids. They've got different exhibits that they do at different times of the year, and yeah, it's a great building for Glasgow to have, for tourists to come and visit. So definitely recommend you coming here if you come to Glasgow. There you go. That is Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum from the front. Beautiful building. Let's take a look inside. Also, this is the Kelvin Hall, I believe. Used to be, and I think still is, a sports arena. Yeah, so, and there's lots of other museums. There's the transport museum that you can go to around here, which is great. But yeah, recommend checking that out. Welcome to Kelvingrove. Got a little cafe here you can go to when you're done looking around all the exhibitions, and they've got a little mini museum. But yeah, it's these halls to the left and to the right of the main entrance that have got most of the different things. Like I said, it's mainly for kids, I would say, to come and explore. They've got all the different animals, that type of thing. Last time I was in here, they had a big catwalk going down the centre here, and lots of tables, and it was a very fancy place for people in Glasgow to come to the Scottish Fashion Awards, which was a lot of fun at the time. And then they've got another exhibition on this side. These funny expression heads, kind of modern take on these busts. These old art pieces. And yeah, like I said, they've got, they've also got art on either side of these main halls. Yeah, so like I said, definitely somewhere that you can explore and you can get lost taking a look at all these paintings, and definitely worth a visit if you come to Glasgow. This is Charles Rennie Mackintosh, which I mentioned at the start. He's a very famous architect from Glasgow and has this very traditional style that's instantly recognisable. So yeah, if you come here you can learn all about that. Sunday, 3 PM. Oh, it looks like they do a recital on this big organ on Sundays at 3 PM. Let's see, what time is it? 2 o'clock. Well, another time maybe, but yeah, it's definitely something you could do. I'm sure that's pretty impressive, seeing the organ playing. I haven't seen it myself. And then there's a whole upstairs area as well to go and explore. Sorry. Another place I want to show you in Glasgow is Park Circus. Park Circus is quite a sought after residential area in Glasgow, and it's definitely somewhere that people with money that want to live in the city want to live in Glasgow, because it's near the West End, it's also near the city centre, and it's kind of a luxurious area with a big circle in the middle. So I will take a walk up there and I'll show you Park Circus when we get there. Yeah, to get up to Park Circus you just need to walk back through Kelvingrove Park, and then it's up at the top of this hill, and then you can see the university from here over in that direction, and then you can also see Kelvingrove Art Gallery, which is over there. Beautiful view of Glasgow from over here. And now this gate is the gate that takes you into the park from Park Circus. This is Park Terrace that runs round the outside, and then there's an inner circle, and that's where a little roundabout is, and that's where Park Circus is. So again, white sandstone buildings, but you can see they're well maintained, kind of luxury places. A lot of the people that live here have nice cars, for example, Tesla. So definitely a sought after area. They also have some offices for law firms, that type of thing in Park Circus. But yeah, BMW. So hello. Yeah, this is Park Circus. And now we also have offices, like this is Uniting to End Poverty building, charity. So there's some offices in these areas as well, but then there's some apartment blocks. I actually used to work for a friend of mine. His dad had a building company, and they renovated a lot of the buildings here were offices for quite a long time, but then they renovated them into luxury flats. I think it was that one over there. And yeah, that was good. I spent a summer of my teenage years, or when I was at university, breaking down a lift shaft and replacing it with stairs. So that was a formative experience. We've got these little terraces, lanes off of the main area, and you can see the cobbled streets in there, quite cute. Same with that direction. And then if we come over here, you'll be able to see that there's a set of stairs where people do a lot of exercise, because they can run up and down the stairs. And then there's a terrace at the bottom called Claremont Terrace, and again there's some nice apartments there. This is Woodlands Terrace, it runs around here, and then these stairs are great for doing exercise on. All this old, I think this is granite stone, and it must have taken a lot of effort to build these stairs, and they're pretty impressive. So definitely somewhere that I've seen quite a lot of personal trainers setting up like little training sessions down here, and then they get all their people to run up and down these stairs and do their exercise regimes, particularly during COVID when they weren't allowed to exercise inside. So a lot of people made use of this Glasgow monument for doing that. And now this is, I think, Claremont Terrace. luxury buildings. Oh, this is Park Terrace? Park Terrace, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame I'm here when the trees don't have leaves on them, but yeah, you can just imagine all of the luscious green that Glasgow would have to offer. Maybe I'll do another video in the future showing you what it's like in the summer. Yeah. It was this building on Claremont Terrace in Glasgow where I worked for a year, breaking down an office and turning it into luxury flats. So it's funny to be back. I think it's this one here, these two doors. So it's nice to be back and see it and walk these streets. We actually had to bring bricks out of that door, and then there was a skip here, and for about a year we filled up the skip with bricks from the lift shaft that we had to drill each of the bricks, and then they fell down into the lift shaft, and then we had to carry them out to the skip. So it's funny coming back here and seeing it. It's a little lane that you can walk back. This walk will take us back towards Charing Cross, which is where a lot of the motorways connect with one another. And then Charing Cross goes to Sauchiehall Street, and then that will take us back into town. I think I'm also going to show you guys the Clyde side where they used to do the shipbuilding. So yeah, you can wait for that later in the video. So this is Charing Cross. It's where a lot of the motorway goes through. The M8 runs through Charing Cross and then goes on towards Edinburgh in the east of Scotland. But yeah, this is how most people get in. I would arrive here if I'm driving in from the south side of Glasgow. Super busy area. This one's Sauchiehall Street in this direction. And yeah, if you want to go over to Stirling, Carlisle, Edinburgh, then you'll get on the motorway there. You can also get back to the West End in this direction. And if you want to walk back to the city centre, you go in this direction. A lot of the bars and nightclubs are in this area. Campus is for students. We've got Steak and Cherry, which is like a late night place. Stays open late for having food. They actually just shortened the distance of this road. It used to come all the way to here, where you see that line. This used to be all one road with cars going up and down, but now there's just one lane going in either direction. That's a new thing over the last maybe 3-4 years that they've made that change. So trying to make Glasgow a much more cyclist focused city. We've got nightclubs like The Garage, which are student classics that people used to go to. And if you just keep walking down Sauchiehall Street, you get all the way to the top of Buchanan Street, where you have the Donald Dewar monument that we saw earlier in the video. Actually, I might take a right and go up to the Glasgow School of Art, which was Rennie Mackintosh inspired, which was the artist that we, or the architect that we saw when we went to Kelvingrove Art Gallery. And if we go up this street, it should take us up there. My brother and sister both studied at this art school. My sister studied architecture and my brother studied product design engineering. So yeah, I spent a little bit of time going to this part of the city, to this school, when they were there to go and watch their exhibitions when they finished their final year project. This would have been a old school that they had back in the day. My old school was Hutcheson's Grammar School, which has a similar style to this for the primary school. So that was the Hutcheson brothers, who were wealthy Glaswegians, and they set up a school for kids. Oh, running up the hill was exhausting, but yeah, it was actually an all-boys school at the time that they opened it, and then they combined it with boys and girls. This is the Rennie Mackintosh Hotel. I forgot that the Rennie Mackintosh building in which the Glasgow School of Art was housed actually burnt down, unfortunately, which is such a shame for the city because it was such a historic building. And yeah, I remember when I was living in New York, they did a big fundraiser in New York for people, Scottish people over in New York, to try and raise money to refurbish the building. And I think it burnt down twice. And if you look at it now, it's a big modern glass building. I think they're trying to restore some of the facade here on the left hand side, but yeah, most of it is brand new. See the art school up there, so they've tried to keep some of it, but hard to restore it after the fire that they had. Yeah, so that is the story of Glasgow School of Art. When I was a teenager, another place that we used to go and party and hang out was on this site here. It's now a modern building, but before that it was a huge Gothic looking former church or something, but they turned it into a nightclub. And upstairs there was a nightclub called Shack, and downstairs there's a nightclub called Trash, and they used to play hip hop in Glasgow, and it used to be somewhere that I learned how to do the moonwalk and dance to 90s rap music. And we used to always go to this fish and chip shop across here. But I'll show you guys a picture of what it used to be like, and this is what it looks like now. So it's funny how things move on and change over the years. You would have had a big building, but it was kind of, the sandstone was actually kind of black over here, and it looked quite an imposing building. And now it's all gone. It's replaced by this modern set of, I think, flats or student accommodation. The street that we're on right now is called Bath Street. If you go down those stairs, there's a bar downstairs called Bunker, and it's very nice. There's also a place called Mosquito here, down there, and it's been called Mosquito for many years, and they just did a big revamp of the place, so it's looking a lot better these days than it did before. I was actually involved in doing their rebrand. I helped build their website, so yeah. Alright, we'll take a right here off of Bath Street, and this takes us to Blytheswood Square, which is a square with some grass around it, grass in the middle, and then you've got kind of office blocks all around. But one of the best hotels, I would say, in Scotland, or in Glasgow even, is called Blytheswood Square Hotel, or the Blytheswood Hotel. And it sits right here, looking onto this grassy square in the middle. I think the park may be closed right now. Yeah, private property. But they do open it, I think, during the day, probably not on Sundays. I'll try and show you guys in Blytheswood Square Hotel as well. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, sir.
Hi, how are you? This is the hotel. That's the main dining area. Then they've got, thanks, see you later. Cheers. Thanks.
Hey, sir.
But yeah, that's the main dining area down upstairs. They've also got dining areas or event spaces down here for people to book out, and then down in the bottom there's an area that people can get massages and that type of thing. So yeah, if you're wanting a nice place to go in Glasgow, definitely stop by Blytheswood Square Hotel. We're going to continue our journey down to the Clyde side, which is in this way. If you want to get back down to Buchanan Street, you can walk straight down this street, but we'll go down to the Clyde. This street is called Bothwell Street. This is where my first job after university was. It's called Barclays head office, Barclays Bank. So they're a big bank in the UK, and they brought a lot of jobs to Scotland in around 2010 for doing kind of back office administrative work, and they could make use of the good universities that Scotland has, because we've got skilled, you know, talented workforce, and the cost of living here is significantly lower than it would be in London, so they could afford to pay people less money for less risky jobs that didn't need to be in the centre of London, for example. So I ended up working at Barclays before moving down to London for 18 months or so. But the same trend happened with a lot of the banks. Once Barclays and some of the other early arrivals built up their workforce in the city, then they had some of the experience that other banks could make use of, and I believe JP Morgan have made a big investment here, potentially some of the other banks as well from London, and some of the US banks. I think maybe Morgan Stanley, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's definitely a great place to hire people. You've got smart people, and relatively cheaper than down south, and so that's why a lot of companies are coming to invest in Scotland to hire their workforce, which is great for Scotland, because there needs to be a lot of opportunity here. One of the things that was always challenging for me, kind of growing up and wanting to have a career and that type of thing, was that you always felt, living and growing up in Glasgow, that if you wanted to really make it in your career, then you needed to be down in London, because it's the capital of the UK. It sort of sucks in all of the talent from the rest of the UK, and people feel like they need to make a move down there to make it, no matter which industry you're in. But more and more, a lot of the jobs, the good jobs, the skilled jobs, are being sent out to cities like London, like Glasgow and Edinburgh, and also Manchester in the north of England. And I think that's a good trend, because as we can all work more digitally now, there's no real need to have all the jobs centralised in the middle of London. So yeah, that's great. We are going to arrive at the Clyde soon. See this facade that they've kept, but then they've got this modern building behind it, and it looks like this was warehouses that they had. But they do that very often when they're building new buildings, and it's great when they can do it where they can keep the facade of the original sandstone on the outside, but then rebuild the inside of the building. Makes it great, because some of these buildings are deteriorating on the inside and the foundations and that type of thing, so they want to kind of renew them and make them better, but at the same time they want to keep the style of Glasgow, which is all of these big sandstone bricks, like this one. You can see this walking bridge that takes you back across the Clyde. We started our journey over in this direction, but like I was talking about before with Barclays hiring more people up in Scotland, I think at the time they were hiring around 300 people when I graduated from university. I'm doing jobs that were done in London back in Glasgow. That was 2010. We're now in the year 2021, 23. And just across this walking bridge, you'll be able to see a huge building that's just been built across there in the last couple of years. I've never seen it before because I was away traveling all this time, but that's a Barclays building to store all of the people that they're now hiring in Scotland. So they've increased their hiring in Glasgow, clearly because we've got a talented workforce who now has a lot of the experience to do the jobs that they probably used to have to hire people in London. So yeah, it's great for the city that they're investing so much, and also it'll mean that because they've made that investment and they're doing that hiring, that more jobs will follow from other financial services companies in London, the US banks, to cities like Glasgow in the north to hire some of their staff, because they'll have this pool of talent that they can benefit from, and hopefully wages will rise as more companies choose to hire people here. So yeah, great for the city. You'll be able to see here there's a lot of building work happening. So obviously the house building market is growing in Glasgow, which is great. Hello. Yeah, it's great for people. House prices are a little bit shaky at the moment because interest rates in the UK have gone up, which means that a lot of people can't afford their mortgages because they were on such low rates before, and now with interest rates going up, it's putting pressure on that. So while a lot of new builds is great for the housing shortage which we have in the UK, and that's meant that there's been such a inflation in house prices, it's maybe going to be more difficult in this environment in the next year or two for house builders to sell these new builds, when there's a lot more property coming back on the market from people who just haven't been able to afford the mortgages, and now they need to sell. So that's a bit of a challenge that's happening across the UK, and no, but it's nice to see that house builders are investing money in Glasgow to build these new properties. A lot of that will be because you'll get companies like Barclays that are choosing to invest in the city, and so they need to build all these new builds to support the workforce that will be gravitating towards Glasgow over the coming years to fill those job vacancies and you know, increase the prosperity of the city. So things look like they're on the up and up over here. Glaswegians tend to have a good sense of humour, and so when this bridge was built and it went kind of not directly across the river, they called it the Squinty Bridge, and so that's the name of this bridge that goes across the River Clyde. There's only a few remnants of the shipbuilding industry left over in Glasgow. This is one of them, which will has been preserved more as a monument to the fact that Scotland, or Glasgow, would have been the second city of the British Empire. Many ships would have been built, and many people would have been coming up and down these stairs to build a lot of the ships that were keeping the British Empire going and heading the seas, the high seas, going around all of the different colonies of the British Empire. So it was a huge industry in Scotland. It's pretty much it's non-existent these days, and you wouldn't be able to get these huge ships through these tight passages of the Squinty Bridge and some of the other bridges that they've now built across the River Clyde. But back in the day, it was a massive contributor to the Glasgow economy, and it would have kept the Scottish people in work, and contributed to the, you know, development of Glasgow and some of the things that you've seen here. Interestingly, I've got another video that shows my experience on a boat or a ship in Malawi, which goes up and down Lake Malawi, and it's called the Ilala boat. And that boat was actually built right here in Glasgow, in some of these shipyards on the Clyde. So that was amazing to experience being on that ship. And I actually had to get my motorbike up onto the ship by taking it out on a small boat, and then getting 10 guys in Malawi to help me drag it up onto the ship. So yeah, you see a lot of the trail of the British Empire all over the place, and obviously Malawi has a huge connection with Scotland. Many of the main cities are named after Scottish towns, Blantyre being the biggest city in Malawi, and it's named after a small town outside Glasgow. And you've got Cape Maclear, and Mac is a common Scottish name. Here's the Squinty Bridge. So yeah, there's you see a lot of history when you travel to different corners of the world, and a lot of things from the past. You can see that people have been traveling to those countries before. So the shipbuilding industry in Glasgow has gone, but the ship remains in use in Malawi and is improving the lives of the people there, so that's pretty good. Over in this direction we have, well, here we have a restaurant called Cranside Kitchen, which is actually owned by a couple of friends of mine, so check it out if you come here. There's an Italian part to it called the Rotunda, so yeah, that's a cool place. I actually had my 30th birthday up in the top section of that building, so shout out to the Rotunda, go and check it out. And then you have 3 buildings here that hold many events in Glasgow. You've got the Hyrdo, which is this building, and it's the most recently built, and generally they do big concerts for music events and that type of thing. And then you've got the SEC Centre, which is the conference centre, and they'll hold big conferences here. And then you have the Armadillo over in this direction, which is a interesting shaped building, and it also has a concert hall. So there's many venues in Glasgow for doing big events, and they held the COP22 here. There was many dignitaries from all over the world that came to these buildings to try to solve some of the climate problems. So Glasgow COP 2022 was held in this area, and by all accounts it was a huge success. So if you do come to Glasgow, you will be for a concert or any event that's going on, this will be where you come.
The wonderful oval Hydro.
Great. And this one is, yeah, so this one is also one remnant that they've kept for the shipbuilding industry in Glasgow. This is a crane that they have kept. It's not in use, but it's more as a landmark, as a reference to the history of Glasgow, which heavily relied on shipbuilding. So yeah, it's nice that they've managed to keep something here that represents what built Glasgow, which was, yeah, these ships that went all over the world. This bridge is a railway bridge, and it runs all the way from the south side, and all the trains are coming in and leaving from the centre of Glasgow, which is up in this direction to the left. This is Glasgow Central Station, and this tunnel underneath is called Hillman's Umbrella, I'm pretty sure. Hello. Some waivers. Yeah, so you can enter Central Station from underneath this bridge. There's little shops underneath here, but it's not the nicest part of town. But there's like chip shops and that type of thing. And then you can enter Glasgow Central Station through this way. And then there's a main gate that goes out towards the taxi rank, where most people pick up a taxi. These escalators will take you up to the main station, and then there's an underground station that you can get to. It's not the subway, but there's also upper overground and lower ground trains that enter and leave Glasgow. So these are all the overground trains. This is Glasgow Central Station. Yeah, and I remember growing up meeting your friends in town and telling them that you would meet them in Glasgow Central Station because that was the main place to meet. But obviously back in the day none of us had phones, so we'd all be hanging around hoping our friend would turn up on time, and we didn't know whether they would arrive or not. And sometimes you get the train in and your friend would be late and you'd leave 15 minutes later on the next train, and then suddenly they'd arrive and you'd all get mixed up and confused and fall out with one another. Anyway, this is the train station. There's a clock over here in the middle. There used to be an elevator that sat there and took you upstairs. Now they've replaced it. But yeah, this is the station. It's pretty much similar to how it would have been. You'll see this roof is similar to what there was in Princess Square. So this is where people see their trains come up on the system and wait for their train. This will be absolutely packed at 5 or 6 o'clock on a Monday to Friday for everyone trying to get home. Usually it's just packed with people waiting to find out when their train is going to arrive and when they can get home. And then these are the main gates out of the station. And there's also a Central Station hotel, which is in this area, and that's the champagne bar part of the hotel. And the hotel is all this facade up here. And then these gates take you out to the taxi rank. And if you dare try to skip the taxi queue on a Saturday night in Glasgow, people won't take kindly to it. There's a long line of people waiting along the street here for their taxis to get home at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And I've been in this queue plenty of times when I was growing up, seeing people getting shouted at and screamed at for trying to skip the taxi queue. So definitely don't do that if you go out on a night out in Glasgow. People get their fish and chips at the Blue Lagoon after they've been out drinking. So that's a chip shop. Actually, they've opened it up into a restaurant as well. I haven't seen that yet, but they used to just have a shop there, but it seems like they've done a lot of work, so business must be booming in the fish and chip market. And now we are back in town, and this is back on Buchanan Street where we were earlier. Someone's about to dive through all of these hoops.
Otherwise I'm going to the spikes, into the metal, or I'm going to run into one of you guys. Okay? The only way to avoid that is if you guys do the clapping, I'll know where you are. Okay? That will help me to know if I'm in the middle. Alright? It's okay. Perfect, that was good.
The stunt runner's taking too long, so I'm sure he's gonna make it. Let's go and listen to this singer. Alright. They can hear it, we can hear it. Just, yeah. I don't know, he's about to do his stunt, so. Aye, go for it.
I found a love for me. just dive right in and follow my lead. I will not give you up this time.
Nice. Good voice. Well, that concludes the video. We've done our walking tour and we've done the subway. We've seen the city centre and we've seen the West End. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Yeah, Glasgow's definitely got a lot to offer. And I'm so glad I grew up here. Might be cold and raining most of the time, but when you get a nice crisp day like this, the city is great and the people seem to be out there having fun. I know we didn't get a chance to have a lot of interactions with people in this video. Probably in an upcoming video I'm going to go around town and show you guys what people think of Glasgow and ask them why people should come and visit, because it'll be good for you guys to see some of the views of the people of Glasgow. But for now, that is the end of the video. I appreciate you guys watching it, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Alright, you want to be in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well for now, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, like this video, share it with a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.